Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep, past the myths you probably already know, to get to the story of the man who really founded an empire.
So, when you think about who founded Rome, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most of us, it's one specific, really powerful one.
Yeah, it's these two, right? Romulus and Remus, the twin boys raised by a she-wolf. I mean, that's the story we all know. It's basically become the symbol for Rome itself.
But what if I told you their story actually starts centuries earlier? It begins with a hero, a refugee actually, escaping a city that's literally burning to the ground. Today, we're talking about their ancestor, Aeneas. So let's get into it. Aeneas starts out as, well, kind of a side character in Greek mythology, but somehow he goes from being a footnote to becoming the absolute cornerstone of what it meant to be Roman.
I mean, if you read Homer's Iliad, Aeneas is, well, he's there. He's a Trojan prince. His mom's a goddess, which is pretty cool. But he's not Hector, you know? He's definitely not the star of the show. The gods actually have to swoop in and save him from getting killed a couple of times, all because they've got this bigger destiny planned for him that nobody, least of all him, has any idea about yet.
And get this, even his name is kind of tragic. His mom, the goddess Aphrodite, named him Aeneas because of the unspeakable grief she felt. Why? Because she, an immortal, had a child with a mortal man, and that meant her son would eventually die. It's like his whole life of struggle and loss was baked right into his name from the very beginning.
Okay, so to really understand Aeneas, you have to get this one Roman word, pious. Now, it's not just pious like we think of it today. It's much bigger. It's this deep, all-encompassing sense of duty. Duty to the gods, duty to your family, and duty to your people. All of it, all at once. This one idea is the key to his entire character.
And it's really fascinating when you put him side by side with a classic Greek hero like Odysseus. Odysseus is famous for being wily. He's the clever, tricky guy who can talk his way out of anything. But Aeneas, he's the Roman ideal. He's defined by that pious, that unwavering commitment to his mission, no matter what it costs him personally.
And this sense of duty, it's not just some philosophical concept. No, it gets forged in the most brutal way imaginable, in the fire and chaos of the fall of Troy.
So Troy is burning to the ground, and the gods tell him, "Get out now." And what he does next, it's this perfect, powerful image of pious. He doesn't just run for his life. He puts his elderly father on his shoulders, that's the past. He takes his young son by the hand, that's the future. And he carries the sacred statues of his home, that's the very soul of his people. He's saving all of it.
And this is incredible. Some stories say his devotion was so obvious, so powerful, that even the Greeks, his enemies who were sacking the city, stopped and spared him. In the middle of all that carnage, they saw his act of piety and respected it. That's how fundamental it was.
So Aeneas and the other Trojan survivors set sail. They wander for years, just trying to find this new homeland they've been promised. And their journey leads them to a place that's going to put that sense of duty to the ultimate test by throwing it right up against love.
Okay, so picture this. They've been at sea for 6 years. 6! And then a massive storm, cooked by the goddess Juno, who absolutely hates the Trojans, smashes their fleet and shipwrecks them on the coast of North Africa. They wash ashore in this incredible, booming city called Carthage.
And there, he meets its powerful ruler, Queen Dido. And they fall hard for each other. For about a year, it seems like maybe, just maybe, he's found his home. But this sets up the central conflict of his entire journey. It really boils down to this question. What do you choose? The love of your life right in front of you, or this grand, difficult destiny you never even asked for?
Well, destiny doesn't let him get comfortable. The gods send Mercury down to basically yell at him, "Hey, remember Italy? You have a job to do." So Aeneas makes this gut-wrenching choice. He chooses duty. He decides to leave. And Dido, completely heartbroken and betrayed, utters this terrible curse against him and all his descendants, right before she takes her own life. And this is where the myth gets really wild. This personal tragedy becomes a prophecy, setting the stage for the actual historical Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage.
So, shattered but still down by his duty, Aeneas gets back on his ships and finally sets sail for Italy, determined to see this thing through.
And when he gets there to a region called Latium, it almost feels like the story's over. The local king, Latinus, welcomes him with open arms. He's even heard a prophecy about this and offers Aeneas his daughter Lavinia's hand in marriage. It looks like a peaceful end to a very, very long journey.
But of course, it's never that easy. Turns out, Lavinia was already promised to someone else, a local warrior king named Turnus. And you can bet the goddess Juno is right there, whispering in Turnus's ear, stoking his anger. So Turnus declares war, and suddenly Aeneas is thrown into one last, brutal fight for the very future of Italy.
The whole war comes down to a one-on-one duel between Aeneas and Turnus, and Aeneas wins. He kills his rival, and with that he finally secures the homeland for his people that was promised to him all those years ago in the ashes of Troy.
But winning the war isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's just the beginning. It's the start of a dynasty that is going to literally change the course of history.
So let's trace this out. Aeneas founds the city of Lavinium. His son, Ascanius, goes on to found another city, Alba Longa, and a whole line of kings. Fast forward a few hundred years, and who comes from that same exact bloodline? Romulus and Remus. And this connection was everything to the Romans. We're talking centuries later, guys like Julius Caesar and the first emperor Augustus are tracing their family trees right back to Aeneas to prove they have divine blood, since he was the son of Venus.
So why does any of this matter? Because it shows you the unbelievable power of a founding story. Just think about that for a second. Rome, one of the most dominant empires in human history, built its entire national identity on the story of a refugee, not some all-powerful conqueror, but a survivor who had lost everything except his sense of duty.
And this all got cemented by the poet Virgil in his epic poem The Aeneid. He took the story of this dutiful, God-fearing survivor and turned it into the story of Rome itself. The idea was that the Romans were destined for greatness, not despite starting from tragedy, but because of it. That struggle made them who they were.
Which leaves us with one last thought to chew on. How does it shape a nation, an empire, when its founding hero isn't defined by the lands he conquered, but by the people and the values he carried out of the fire?